So that was a few minutes with Dramis. Welcome back, everybody, to week number 10 of Stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. My name's Ketchup, joined by ZSX on the desk tonight. And there's not really much else to go over, really. I mean, well, apart from the match itself, of course, because fundamentally this is, like I said, it's a matter of...
It's a little bit of something to go over then.
Yeah, we'll quickly get this out of the way, and then the matches will start, which is what you're all here for, I'm sure of it. But yeah, fundamentally, it's the climb of Dramis, and there's been a lot of progression there for him, versus Psygib, who, if you were to match these two players up head-to-head at the beginning of Stage 1, it would be, easy 3-0 for Psygib. It would be a very safe bet that would be, what you'd expect to see.
Yeah.
Now, even though I think the favour could still maybe be in kind of Psygib's favour here, it's kind of hard to call, just by how the past two stages have gone.
I agree with that. I mean, my gut feeling actually sided with Dramis in this one. I think that they both have exceptional aim and mechanics. I would slightly favour Dramis in that respect, but for me, the way in which Dramis has developed, I've seen some stronger all-round gameplay at his peaks than potentially Psygib has shown. And so if Dramis lives up to the way in which he has played in some of these games, I remember particularly back in when he played Rafa, if I remember rightly, he took Rafa to the wire across all the maps they played. So if he can bring that Dramis out, I think it's going to be a close 2-1 to Dramis.
And it hasn't come across as too inconsistent to get that kind of
not at all.
Dramis. It's been more of less of a he has good maps and that's it, and more of a he's just progressing.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a natural progression where the skill is kind of consistently there.
And he's one of those players that he's just strong across the board with all weaponry, takes up good positions, doesn't overcommit all too often. And when players do that, it's no matter who you play against, you're always in with a shout because you're just solid. And he's taking that now to new levels, which is really exciting for the scene in general.
Now, if we were to talk about Psygib, this is a player that has been held in very high esteem for quite a while across multiple modes. He's been quite a star performer in a few of them, 2v2 kind of being one of his more breakout game modes, I suppose, in Quake Champions at the very least. And when you think of Duel, he's always right up there. He had a fantastic kind of general showing at the very first entry to Quake Pro League, QuakeCon 2019, where he went up against Tox, if memory serves me correctly. And it was one hell of a competitive match and thoroughly enjoyable to watch. But right now, Psygib, there's just a lot of natural skill with what he does. He was a slow burner at the beginning of Stage 1, but those days are already long gone. And he's, right now, I think, back more up to the consistent level that we know him for at this point.
There's a little bit of a dip, but you're right. He's definitely back up there. There's a reason why he's in the top 10. I think he's number 8 in the world, according to the rankings. So, you can't doubt his skill and potential. Definitely known for me more for his rail. Still got strong hit scan, but as a rail player, there is a weakness that you can capitalize upon there if they're overly reliant on that source. Then if Dramis is able to manipulate the map in such a way that he can do that, then that's for me one of the strongest areas he can come into this game. But ultimately, whatever happens, I don't see either player running away with this. They're both exceptionally strong, and so it should be close either way.
You'd feel like it has a high chance of being 2-1, and at the very least, the maps themselves quite close too. Speaking of which, we have got the map picks and the champion picks to go over right now, and one of them, I'm sure we're not alone when we think this, is quite an exciting prospect. The Scalebearer versus the Slash on Molten Falls. Kind of a nice demonstration of both of these players, some of their star champions, especially with Dramis and that Slash. And it's not just the Slash that comes out for Crouch Slide. Dramis, he's shown great variety of champions as the league has expanded, but one thing that has always remained prominent is that crouch sliding is his strongest asset, and he's got both crouch sliders in this rotation today.
Yeah, Dramis is one of those players that can use those champions really, really effectively. We've seen that in the past. And it allows him to put on considerable pressure. The one thing going against a Scalebearer, however, is that a Scalebearer, no matter for his size, he can also keep up with you for a large part of that. And Molten Falls is the map we see Scalebearer on played a lot, particularly with people like Dewey. And the stack advantage, coupled with the speed and the openness, means that you're a force to be reckoned with. Both Nyx and BJ overlooked throughout this pool, which is a little bit of an unusual situation. Nevertheless, on the first we see Stroggenpiger against that Ranger. Ranger able to use the Die Orb in the close quarter situation as well as capitalize upon the mid ground. Whilst on the final map we have Keel, someone which I'm not a big fan of, but very, very powerful.
You don't like Keel, do you?
I don't like Keel.
He's not one of your favourites.
He's not my favourite. He just annoys me when I play against him. It's just a personal thing rather than a mechanical thing.
But you talked about movement in the Molten Falls. That's the I guess, the complete direct opposite, the duality of man for Ruins of Sarnath, where it's then going to be Keel versus Galena. So it's going to be more about utility rather than movement for a matchup like that.
It's all about utility and positioning. That's exactly it. I mean, you can get an incredible stack with Keel, and one of the things about Psygib is, particularly with a rail-based game, that positioning is key. And so having that stack advantage means that, hypothetically, if you miss a rail, it's not going to be to your detriment if you get hit, because you've got such a stack to work with. So as long as you've got solid positioning, these larger champions can be incredibly powerful. So I'm really interested to see how he uses it on Ruins, because it is a very positional based game. And so again, just really intrigued to see how he does that. But we're starting over on Awoken.
Fair to assume that it's going to be a competitive match between these two players, especially now we're in the late game of Stage 2. But that said, we'll see who has a chance to maybe score a first blood here, as we're watching dramis first. And he's right now looking to just feel out a little bit. Doesn't want to overextend too much. Ooh, before I even say that, there was an element of an angle that was seized away from Psygib. We've seen Ranger do magnificent things on Awoken. It's so hard to challenge one of the main pickups against a Ranger with an orb ready. You have to show it so much respect.
Yeah, it is a dangerous ability, but dramis able to sneak onto that, but he's taken a lot of damage, but it hits a lovely rail rocket combo.
Oh, and down to the final rocket for the accidental suicide. It's one of those awkward suicides where, look, we have to go for splash damage. If I just so happen to be on death's door, then so be it. But that was just a crazy fight to kickstart this map. A minute in already, so it's one way to start things off. Favor's going to be dramis, and he's in a better position absolutely for the Mega, and he's able to get in and out without giving up a single rail. The Heavy is just about to get taken. Opts to use the crouch slide momentum to put himself out of harm's way for the Pika attack. We are starting to see that used a little bit more now. The fact that when you activate Pika, you kind of carry over that a little bit of that momentum, so dramis can use it a little bit earlier just to get Pika ready to go, while knowing he's going to safely slide behind a wall. So it's a nice little bit of awareness there, I suppose.
Dramis lives in Zoom. I've just noticed. He just plays his map in Zoom.
Actually, perfect time to mention this. I completely forgot to mention this at the very beginning, actually, as we came out of the outro. This is a pre-recorded match. None of us know the outcome, and we don't know what's happened, but as you heard dramis say in his interview, he's actually currently boot camping for Poland with some of the other talent and the players that are out there. So this is, by all accounts, a pre-recorded game, but as always, we do not know the outcome of it. But right now, dramis looking to be a little bit more defensive. He's got to worry about that stack, and Psygib knows it, and that missed rail should by all means be... Oh, I was about to say death sentence, but the damage of Pika, I cannot believe dramis managed to survive that, and the perfect read on the tri-bolt. That was Psygib just taking the forbidden fruit far too early.
I mean, I think that's a little bit of an example of what I was talking about between dramis showing a little bit more of a rounded skill set opposed to Psygib, because that was a fairly obvious trap, if you will. And Psygib walking into dramis a little bit too much here.
And now, dramis has a really fat stack, and that matters a huge amount on a map like this, where you have the movement of the Strogan Pika. If you get caught around the corner, it doesn't really matter. You can be crazy aggressive if you want to be. And the orb, perfect play there from Psygib.
And that's your point coming out about the power of that dire orb in those close quarters.
It just makes the pickups scary to defend against. If you are the player that doesn't have the orb, you have to respect this so much. Having to quickly swap was a kamikaze into the wall, but doesn't really matter. Hits the perfect rail angle, waits for dramis, and he's happy to deliver. Looking to get a speed boost. Can he hit the extra angle?
Really
Thank you for the rocket jump. Giving him the position he needs, and dramis, no escape for you, my friend.
No, and now there's a really tasty split on the major items. So dramis has to play quite careful for the next 30 seconds or so. He needs to get that weaponry back, try to avoid damage, which he doesn't do successfully.
Ooh. Psygib has been making quite a, I suppose, a long-range chase here so far. Only be able to do that for so long, though. Only one rail in the tank, so we have to quickly disengage and not only try and get a good position for Heavy, but it's a perfect opportunity to kind of kill two birds with one stone and get some rail ammo as now the fight breaks out near Heavy. Psygib winning the fight, and even without taking the Heavy, he would have won that easily. So it's going to be a 2-2 so far. Psygib in full control. The question is, now dramis isn't the one that's able to constantly make chase. How does he climb back on the back foot?
Good rail coming out from dramis. He's really early for that Mega, though.
I love that positioning from Psygib. He knows that dramis is spawning near a rail, so it's likely one of the only weapons he's got. And the choice to just go point blank. And if you're trying to challenge someone's rail, just make yourself as annoying to hit as physically possible. Hang on a minute though, this LG, either way, hard to call that one. dramis getting access to the heavy too, which has actually put Psygib in a bit of a weird position. There are some health bubbles to retreat to, but the Mega isn't going to be up for some time, which is why dramis is pushing in. He knows he can really try and strong-arm his way, and at the same time maybe try and even get a frag. Setting up for the rail because the Pika likely to come about, and that's also information. dramis knows now that Psygib, he's a bit too far away, and he knows he's tender. He can't really fight for that Mega.
Oh, can he get out?
Oh, rocket coming out. I was half expecting maybe a ring out there with the position he was looking at. Yeah. Risky business.
It's about the best he could expect it for in that situation. Great rail coming out there.
Going up for the jump pad. That is going to be some guaranteed LG in a really tidy rail.
Lots of back and forth going here. This map is crying out for one of them just to take a little bit more control and slow down the pace a tiny bit.
Mega spawning again, and just to point out for another time, Tasty to 9. Oh my word.
I've really liked the use of those Pikas so far. It's been perfect reactionary time from when he's using them around those corners.
And it's not just been damage either, it's knowing that Pika is going to kind of cause that knockback effect, which almost completely set up the destruction of Psygib. Psygib going all in!
Somehow does so
massive
much
damage.
Yeah.
He's still in a position to take this. dramis doesn't want to mess with it.
Nice positioning. I don't know if he's heard him here. He could die if he jumps across just at the right time.
If he just held rail angle for an extra couple of seconds, he would have been in a perfect position. Pika, hello! Knocked down. He doesn't quite get the rail, but dramis fighting for his life. That missed rail is a heartbreaker.
Swap to the shotgun.
Screaming out. Psygib. This is the danger though. He's weak. They had a close encounter, and dramis with a decent stack fresh off the spawn, and he can chase it down.
So trapped.
Doesn't necessarily, just because you got a frag doesn't mean you're...
The worst thing about that frag is he wasted a lot of time, meaning dramis was able to get onto that Mega as well.
Wonderful rocket jump, not giving up a rail angle. Now dramis just looking for another situation here, I suppose. He's in a good position to try and swoop into the heavy. He has to give it respect, and that is the respect we're talking about. That trade, if anything, because the heavy was just taken by Psygib, isn't a huge loss for dramis.
No, great timing.
Oh.
Ouchie.
But it is kind of in turn. Oh, hang on a minute. Swap into the nails, but that rail has other answers. Good shot. There's been some great decisions coming out from dramis here too. It's kind of like what you said at the very beginning of the series, where there seems to be more of a consistent amount of that from dramis now. It's confidence. He wouldn't really strike you as a particularly confident player before Pro League, and it's just been the constant access to the weekly competition. And now some beautiful LG. Psygib not quite able to hit the rockets he's looking for either, giving dramis an 8-5 lead. Looking real good right now.
What Psygib is doing particularly well is that even though he's not winning these exchanges, the fact is he's stealing items away. So dramis' momentum is stunted a little bit. So what dramis needs to do, however, is to make sure he's clearing out the surrounding areas of these major items prior to their spawning. And that's exactly what he's doing here. But again, Psygib is just bullying his way in to make sure that he's never counted out.
Extra confidence and matchup knowledge too. Psygib going for that Dire Orb just point blank because he knows that the Pika's about to come out. So, you know, if I Dire Orb, get some entry damage and a Pika's available, that's at least one free rocket.
Yeah, as soon as he heard the Pika, he went aggressive because he knows that dramis is incapacitated.
And it's certainly not the first time dramis has used the Pika around an angle like that too. He's really trying to sort of clear out and get some extra information before an item appears. This is quite an interesting exchange though. He hasn't got any armor, so dramis, although he wants the heavy, he has to show respect, and that's why he's kind of keeping it at arm's reach, because he's got a Dire Orb and I've got no armor. I am dead if I go for this item.
But with only a minute and 30 left, does the smart thing and backs off. He has that speed advantage though, so he's pretty good at escaping the clutches of Ranger, but as we saw with Avec earlier, get into one situation we have the Dire Orb available to chase, then that's where Ranger comes into his own.
Has to watch out for these rails, but that's some fantastic rocket damage. He needs a little bit more than that, though. The stack difference is too extreme. And with the 1 minute warning looming over here, with only 2 frags to go, that's not completely unwinnable for Psygib. However, he needs to make this encounter count, and he realistically can't give up a frag here. It'll be too much momentum. He has got the heavy, so he's in a good position to do it. dramis now trying to spring the trap. Dirob coming through, but Psygib taking loads of damage, answering back with the rail now. Only one frag, and in a perfect position to stop the bleeding with one of those megas. A good choice there from dramis. Steal away the light armor, so this fight's going to be kind of difficult. That's a great rocket to start things off.
I'm not sure why dramis is sticking around here. He doesn't need to. He's done enough damage. And the mega, I mean, it was just taken as well.
And they have a pretty even stack, all things considered. Just mirror it a little bit, really.
Not sure on the weaponry that dramis has, though, but it's just doing enough chip damage to make sure that Psygib doesn't feel entirely confident pushing him without a major item, which he does now have.
He has to go all in.
He has to go in now.
The speed difference is going to matter too much. Without a dire orb, Psygib, no situation here to make things happen. If he had like the sixth sense to just stay looking at the left, he would have had maybe a dire orb and a rocket, which could have in theory done it. But that's we have the luxury of an X-ray. We can see what he should have done within like a split second. He had not as many ways to know that, so it's totally understandable that dramis gets the win there. And Psygib at the last minute, I mean, that in that last 10 seconds is where the speed mattered.
Yes, exactly.
You know, where it's the crouch slide away, and now I'm put in a position where I need to literally be able to watch the replay back and see where he was, and then think about what I should have done. And that's it. Like, that's too much of an impossible task, really.
Both players showed elements of excellent dueling there. I really enjoyed the way in which Psygib always maintained pressure on major items, particularly on the heavy, putting a strong emphasis on making sure he was the one to pick it up, or at least it deals significant damage. Whereas on the other hand, as soon as dramis was able to get any semblance of a stack, he was also putting on excellent levels of pressure and using that Pika to great advantage as well. So they both played to their champions' strengths exceptionally well. I think dramis slightly, obviously winning the map slightly showed a better edge in terms of the overall tenets of duel, but it was a real great back and forth rumble.
There was confidence on both sides, and that's kind of, I think, what we grew to expect before this series even began. And it is that use of the Pika. When Strog and Pika was first reintroduced, I'll say, into Quake Pro League, because before the crouch slide was given to Strog, no one realistically was using this champion. There were just other, more efficient options you could use, and the second the extra layer was introduced, and Strog has a crouch slide as well, we were seeing players like dramis and others that really favoured crouch sliders. They would pick Strog for the crouch slide, but you could visibly see they still had a lot of learning to do with how to really utilize the Pika properly, you know, in a way that makes it just as important, if not more important, than the crouch slide in some of these situations. And now we're in week 10 of stage 2. That's been plenty of time for these players that were a bit wishy-washy with the Pika at the beginning to now, you know, that real progress has been apparent. You can see it week after week. To this point, most Strog players have Pika put to great use in those really weird situations where you got to respect it, kind of like a dire orb in reverse.
Yeah, and it's a good synopsis, really. The fact is that their game is based around the crouch sliding capabilities, but I would love to have seen how much damage the Pika did in those situations, because it was, at least in the early stages, there were 3 or 4 that pretty much did max damage or close to. It was really your favourite matchup.
This is the map we were looking forward to.
I've never seen you so excited.
Well, we get to see Slash, which is one of dramis' strongest picks outright, versus the Scale Bearer, which Psygib is incredibly talented on a map where they're both really dangerous, and it's just not a matchup that you see every day. So as I say, let's bring it on. It's going to be going in for the bull rush almost immediately, but he has to cancel out of it because he's not really in a position to make it work. But dramis forced to double back, get the Mega, and now we're going to disengage just for a little bit. But Psygib took a lot of damage in this exchange.
I will say that Scale Bearer, ironically, is not too used to being one of the slower champions, and so the fact there is such a high speed differential definitely means that dramis can play almost rings around the Scale Bearer, which is going to be really interesting to see how Psygib adjusts to that. On the flip side,
he misses the rocket ZSX and he's punished.
But on the flip side, the fact is that Scale Bearer is so tanky, means that if there is any mistake such as that, you're going to pay for it.
There's going to be a large emphasis on the LG, I think, for dramis. Just having the mobility and just the constant trail of an LG on one of the larger champions. You know, the rail is more going to be used to either set up or, you know, kind of like that, or if he's trying to retreat. But at the same time, just trying to mess out as much damage as you possibly can against these large champions is why the LG matters so much. Now, using the speed, perfect trap there, getting some opening damage. Psygib looking for the rail angle, but he's just short of it. And he's taken a lot of damage in the process. That's going to be a bit of a victory there for dramis, who's already in a position to set up and deny for the heavy bull rush. Let's not forget, it's not about the speed and the damage. There's also damage mitigation whenever the bull rush is active. But the speed of Slash, that was almost a kill shot for sure. Oh, hang on a minute. Chases it down.
Yeah, and you can see that how much Scalebearer struggles when he's not the one in advantage with speed. Just can't really react.
I feel like that's not the last time we're going to see a frag like that.
No, not at all, no. But yeah, you know, it's like the mosquito on the hippo. It's pretty hard to hit the mosquito, but if you hit the mosquito, the hippo will win.
But now in this position, dramis, in these unfavorable fights, he has got that luxury of just being able to instantly crouch slide and put himself, like right here, he's able to give himself better angles. Actually, full speed ahead, just for the reposition, but the answering back with the bull rush. And he's trying to fight back, perfectly timed there for Psygib. That was a pretty cute one, I have to admit.
Bonkers already. This is
I was excited for it. You just see these two champions, you know things are going to get weird.
It's, yeah, you're just such like a sitting duck as the Scalebearer, but you could just soak up such a beating. It is really entertaining. But dramis is doing a good job already of showing how important that speed is.
Psygib actually looked a little bit like he had the pummel out actually around some of those corners. I don't know if I'm just blind, but he's able to get one of those fights there, playing it really nicely, just in time for a fresh rotation for the heavy to spawn.
I actually didn't realise he hadn't picked it up yet because he came out of that fight so healthily instead of whilst eating two big damage rockets.
And the immediate use of the plasma trail, not just for the immediate speed boost, but to absolutely guarantee that the bull rush can't be used to chase down in any way at all.
Exactly.
Just doubling it up. I feel like this could be a pretty favourable pick for dramis if he plays his cards right, but the combo two-piece rocket into bull rush paced away the somewhat tender champion with the slash, and he's once again put himself in a perfect position to take that heavy. And if Psygib can keep his stack crazy advantageous, then that's where dramis actually might start sweating a little bit.
Absolutely. This is where the pressure is really high because as we've seen in the last two frags, if you get caught in any semblance of a combat scenario against a stacked Scalebearer, you're just dead.
He's having the perfect, almost feels like doubling up the perfect trap. Are you going to use that mobility to try and quickly run in there and take the light before heavy spawns? And then if you do, I'll trap you. Plasma trail, speaking of a trap. Oh, he misses. Yeah, that's a real killer because that bull rush just soaked up just so much of it. He took no damage from that fight. And he's again in a perfect position for this heavy. dramis has a pretty tall order here, and he's already missed the rail, and that's his cue to exit right there. You do not want to overextend. You didn't get the damage. You know you can't realistically take this fight. dramis is trying to hit some of these defensive shots as he's pulling back, but he's not really hitting his mark, and that's giving Psygib an opportunity to kind of just go wherever he wants to go.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this matchup in particular is that Slash's plasma trail needs to be used in a very similar way in which you'd use a Ghost Wall. It's essentially your...
Oh, the rail and the double back. Perfect from
really
Psygib.
Yeah, the plasma trail is essentially your ultra defensive mechanism to get your get out of jail free card. But at the same time, you can use it aggressively, but it is a pivotal skill to use at the right time. Oh my god!
The plasma trail going just fast enough to outrun it. And that said, he still takes a lot of damage, but it's not enough for him to worry about just yet. Not with the heavy just about to spawn. But perfect positioning. He gets a great spawn there with the LG. And the fact that he had no armor meant that he was kind of a sitting duck to the rest of the LG that followed. And this has been such a weird map. Like, these encounters have been fantastic, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Now we get to see what dramis can do. Got himself a couple of major items, but as we see from the stacks, Scalebearer still has a lot to work with, having picked up the lights.
There's some clear familiarity here, though, from Psygib. He's aware that he's against Slash, and he knows that dramis is consistently kind of beating him to the mark on these angles, and he's ready for it. Like, these ball rushes, they're very calculated, and he's looking for it. Gets the perfect jump pad. You want to do that? Well, eat this rail. How about that?
Yeah, just like last map, Psygib with perfect timing on that heavy armor, making a big emphasis to make sure he picks it up. And particularly now he's on the Scalebearer, he has a lot more stack to work with to be able to take these calculated risks.
We saw at the very beginning of this map the slash and the speed being used to constantly just get to these angles, you know, where he can beat you around a corner, start peppering out that crazy damage. That missed Rail's death sentence. Even if it hit, it would have absolutely killed him, guaranteed.
Even still, we can see the way in which Psygib is playing is that if... Nice. In that if he has no real emphasis or need to push out, he will just play the corners. Meaning if Slash pushes in, he was able to catch him in those close quarter combat scenarios.
Great frag there for dramis because he's near tons of ways to restack back up. He's got plenty of ammo. And he has plenty of time to just get the one frag that he needs to get back into this match. And it is brawn versus speed. That is fundamentally what this is coming down to. Dramis, a couple of frags has kind of used, his mobility has been used against him a little bit, where he's been too predictable around a corner, and Psygib's just been ready with a rocket and a charge, and that's it, he's been pasted. But in a lot of these other instances, Dramis, he's able to kind of outrun this ball rush in an impressive manner. He's in a great position now to get this Mega. Should be uncontested, but he's not going to play with fire too much.
I mean, that's a really good point, actually, because these crouch sliding and almost CPM movement champions like Sorlag, they have, to build momentum, have preferred routes. And so you can play around that degree of predictability a little bit. So that's what Psygib's done smart, but we can see him now really slowing down the pace, like to Dewey levels of slow.
All about not being seen. It's clear that Dramis hasn't really got a clear idea where he is. He has been able to catch sight of him. Ooh, misses the rail. If a Psygib is playing that crazy defensive and he's willingly giving up control, you need to make sure every rail that you hit counts. You know, because if you're able to consistently get massive stack compared to it and spring in a trap, the idea was there, but hang on a minute. Rockets are kind of wishy-washy either way so far. Psygib, though, very weak indeed. And Dramis, actually, is he going to try and favor the frag before he gets the heavy? It has given Psygib time to restack. Psygib runs around the corner at last. Dramis sets him up, and once more, perfect time. They can actually get a cheeky frag off spawn first. Almost a ring out there.
Well, Dramis nearly died because that rail just missed him, really.
Nah, it would have been a risky play to go in and get the frag first rather than get the Mega. So he's lives to fight another day, but it's going to be even now, 6-6. Dramis with a much bigger stack. Psygib does not want to overstay his welcome by any stretch of the imagination. And Dramis is going to just keep starving away these lights, and that's really helpful in this kind of matchup. If he's keeping the control and he's using the speed to take away these lights all the time, it does leave Scalebearer with a default stack. And you know, granted, that's not the end of the world, but Dramis has more stack in the speed. It's just going to be advantage for him all the way.
Yeah, but I mean, Psygib isn't too fussed about Dramis picking up these major items, just because a couple of light armors puts him on a level stack. And having watched Dramis a little bit now, he takes the same route virtually every time, having picked up this heavy armor, goes straight up the jump pad and out this door. So if Psygib has recognized that, that's a really good opportunity to deal some amazingly strong damage against him.
You almost feel like Dramis was kind of half aware of that himself, with the double back then in the jump pad.
But the last 4 or 5 times I've seen him, he's done the exact same maneuver. But 1 minute to go, it is really on Psygib not to make a mistake at this point.
As we go into that 1 minute warning, the fact that he's happily conceded the control. This has not necessarily been Dramis bullying the control, it's been Psygib allowing it. Will he live to regret it though later? I guess we'll find out soon, but Psygib playing this slow defensive game, and he's looking for those prediction rockets as well. If he can just set up one
this is dangerous for Dramis if he wants to push him, but he doesn't, just looks up for a cheeky rail.
If he's going so fast, the potential of being ambushed by a rocket, the faster you are, maybe you can somewhat elude that shot. We might actually see a fight break out now. Ball rush activated. Dramis back to a wall. He has to be so careful. He doesn't really have time to stick around for that heavy. The light will have to do. He's actually going for
lovely rocket though. That's enough to push it.
Perfect. Oh no!
Look at that stack.
Is he going to beat him to the punch? A better position for Mega, and Psygib's wise. He knows it would be way too risky.
Psygib is in so much trouble now. There's a plasma trail back up. There's no items up for a good 15 seconds.
Dramis just full speed ahead, looking for him. Mega's about to, well, not Mega, Heavy is about to spawn in 3 seconds, and again, Psygib, he's too weak. And I think Dramis is using that to his advantage. You know, there's a chance that Psygib's going to kind of hang around here, trying to get some of the damage away, but Dramis knows Psygib's going to be a madman to just bully his way onto a point, and that's why he's gone full speed here. And he's optimizing control over damage. Yeah, Psygib maintaining his presence, just being so far behind, and the Heavy's not going to spawn for a long time yet.
Yeah, Dramis realizing and understanding that he is the one with the speed advantage. He doesn't need to overcommit. He can play slightly more patient.
Oh, hang on. This should be it. Wonderful.
Great play from Dramis there.
Wow, how about that?
Impressive.
Looks to me like a 2-0.
You think?
Well, it should be. Might have the worst memory in the world.
It is 2-0.
It was 2-0. Yeah. The way you looked at me, literally made me. The way you just looked at me there made me doubt my own self. I was like,
I have that power.
My brain was like, that is a 2-0. But you looked at me like, and I'm just like, wait a minute. Wait a minute, is my own memory against me? But yeah, okay, so that is a good result all the way around, though. That's great for dramis. So the 2-0 at the very least, it's just a real testament to his progression, honestly, that he's grinded so hard. Like, he streams often, as far as I'm aware, and he's always on that grind. Whether it's scrims, whether it's just general gameplay, dramis is always in there. And I dare I say he's been grinding harder now for Pro League than I think he ever has. And he's kind of taken the Pro League opportunity and just grabbed it with both hands. And he's a perfect kind of celebration, I think, as to why Pro League having things like, the even split with the Americas and the fact that there's kind of equal opportunities all round. dramis is a player that's kind of embodied that and showing why that can work to just helping players grow to a level that they've never reached before. This is really dramis, I think, at his greatest form. And I'm super excited to see what he brings to LAN, because who knows, he could cause some real upsets for all we know.
No, I completely agree, and he's somebody I just enjoy to watch. He's got a great balance in terms of his mechanical skill, his dueling capabilities. He's calculated, so he's a good role model for aspiring duelers, as you say, somebody that's just capitalized upon that opportunity and just shown greater dedication to hone their craft. And at the point now where he's got a 2-0 against technically the third best player in North America.
Yeah, and the 2-0s were just through some great choices. Great playing of the matchups, just great decisions, a lot more confidence than we would see before. And it's like I've said many times, just a different dramis, a dramis that we didn't see at the very beginning of things, and it's all about progression. But now we're into the final map, kind of, at this point, maybe even the bonus map, to see if Psygib can get that last laugh, or whether dramis is kind of similar to an Avec really earlier today, just that big, gigantic boost of confidence. The matchup, though, changes quite significantly. It's going to be the Keel versus the Galena. Psygib has a fantastic Keel, and you love watching it on a map like this. You look at a giant map and think, well, how can Keel be useful? It's mainly for those key locations where the grenades can be irritating as anything, for things like heavy armor, these close range fights where the grenades can kind of just pepper away, add the damage, kind of restrict your movement a little bit, and he gets the first frag too. The giant stack goes a long way too. Ooh. And ow, that's a great totem.
That was a great totem. Yeah, don't expect much movement from Psygib on this map. Expect him just to try and rotate items to get a decent split on them, and then just to play these. What a rail.
Wonderful shot.
Just to play the angles, I was about to say. But
quite a risky rail too at the same time, where he's kind of really close range with the LG in hand and plenty of grenades left in the tank. One missed rail against a Keel at that kind of range can be scary, almost a death sentence if they're hitting the shots. Calculating the risk every step of the way, but here comes that Mega. And dramis, although he's technically in a better position for it, it's that denial. It's a fantastic opening shot, though, to really force him away, and that's going to force the trade effect. Psygib's going to back out, take the heavy instead. And it's all about setup. If dramis is able to really keep this rotation of totems active, which we can, seems easier on Ruins than some of the other maps just because of the size. It's rare that someone like a Keel, at the very least, is able to kind of navigate the entire map just to look for the totems, because you're giving up so much just to look for them.
Exactly.
That dramis has a real opportunity to compete with the heavy stack that Keel works with, because just being able to heal up. Wonderful rocket. Psygib just playing into the hands, and because he's been fragged, there should be a clean take of both items.
Yeah, Keel might get a good spawn, which he does. And dramis does steal it away, however. But nevertheless, Keel being Keel has a massive stack to work with, so comes out of there with at least a semblance of health. And already the 3 totems are up.
Look at the flames on the bottom of the screen. 3 totems means that dramis, every time he gets a totem now, drop down in 35 seconds at least, if he doesn't collect any of the hourglasses, which, to be fair, will be a lot harder for a Galena to do, thanks to the fact that Keel is constantly peppering away those grenades. So if there's an hourglass, there's a good chance he can take it, and it takes away the cooldown from Galena.
And we're already seeing one of the problems with Keel. When you're on the back foot and your opponent is doing a great job at chipping away at you, you just feel like a little bit of a sitting duck, because you're just one of the slowest champions in the game.
Grenades like that, though.
Yeah, but that could turn the fight. So
that is the seesaw effect. You're larger to hit and you're easier, because unlike the other large champions that at least have movement, like if you're a Clutch or a Sorlag or a Scalebearer, you're fast.
Exactly.
You are faster than one would think. Keel is not. Keel is what you would expect a heavy to be fundamentally, where he just can't really move around so good, and he's an easy target to hit. The flip side of that is massive damage output, and that one grenade hitting direct is what allowed Psygib to steal that away, and he's in a perfect position to get that light and take away some of the all-important totems. dramis now with basically nothing active with the exception of one of them. That's not really enough to write home about. Psygib, dramis has backed himself into that dreaded point of no return. And that rail, super good, and Psygib right now happy to use it just to keep dramis behind. I'm still confident that he's gonna go to heavy. And now, with some of the health he's got, he can still totally win this fight. Looking for the rail, misses it, goes on the jump pad. Risky business
Too risky
to follow through that jump pad. That's a lot of faith that dramis will miss a rail like that.
Yeah, that was a little bit mindless because he missed his rail after dramis had already hit one, so he was never going to get the reload in time. And now that's cost him 2 frags. I think it's frustration more than anything.
He's going face first to try and shut down this Mega. He knows he's got the base stack. It's the benefit of some of these larger ones. You know, you've got a great stack to work with. dramis, unfortunately, not quite able to hit some of these crucial shots. That rail has allowed him to keep the presence going.
He can swap.
Oh, this should he just tickles, right? Psygib zigging when he should have zagged, potentially, but the rail, bit of an ugly fight there from Psygib. Really not able to get anything. dramis, the second he hit that one rail near heavy, that was his green light to stay. You know, because it's not about armor at that point, it's about the fact he's got no health. Super shotgun. Oh no, the large champions, the spread. Oh yeah, hate to see it.
This is getting painful. I honestly think there's a little bit of frustration coming out from Psygib here, just pushing almost mindlessly into dramis, and dramis loving it. I mean,
he's happy to. He's just happy to sit there.
This is what he wants. It's free frags all day, coming out of these fights relatively healthy and able to back off onto items. Keel has now picked up the heavy, so is very strong, but I don't think he's got a rocket to work with either. So dramis can play that to his advantage.
And the totems, barely. Oh, actually, never mind. With the exception of the weapon swap, which did do some free damage, dramis now confident, and I actually love the use of the totem here. Normally, this is a dangerous kind of point of no return. Under the jump pad, that addition of one totem can at least make it so you heal up a lot more chunkier than you would expect. And dramis now, I mean, 5 minutes and he's already got 8 frags. That's quite a lot. Versus a Keel as well. That's quite an extreme difference to sit on.
Yeah,
excellent opening rail.
Psygib needs to calm himself a little bit here because it's going to get to the point of no return very quickly, if not already.
Don't use the teleporter.
Oh,
dramis. I think he was half ready for it. He's just throwing it down just in case. But with Psygib, you're a bit nervous about how he's been moving around so far. dramis has kind of looked like he's not really having to... I don't want to say he's not having to think very hard, but he's pretty confident in most cases where Psygib's going to be, and most of the time he's bang on the money.
When your opponent plays like this, you learn to expect it very quickly, and you take up positions where you know you can deal more damage than your opponent. So just like the teleporter, he knows he can deal more damage. Happy to hang around here. You encourage your opponent to take fights. You almost tempt them and bait them to do it, and Psygib is currently falling for that.
Problem is, it's taking a long time. In that one exchange, took a minute, and he has 4 of them left, and he has a lot more frags to go to even tie the knot here. By all accounts, this should be a map win for dramis. If things continue the way they've been going.
Ouch. But what dramis is doing now is that, understanding he's not got entire control, he's maintaining the high ground. So he's letting Psygib pick up that heavy because he's the one that wants to maintain the high ground, the better position to fight, because he knows that Psygib wants to push to fight.
And he's not been shy of those far range rails either, to stop it, to shut it down. Like allow him to take it so you can rail him.
This is a good game unless Psygib decides to change his mindset.
And what a result for dramis this would be. This is just a real demonstration and celebration. 10 frags to 2. Getting the extra positioning here, a free Mega, and actually, by all accounts, he might even be able to get a heavy. Can he take this fight? Psygib finally manages to push forward and use that to his advantage. Is it going to be a flip side of spawns? No, in this case, actually, dramis doesn't get a spawn where he can fight for the heavy. But at this point, who cares? 3 minutes to run away and not concede 7 frags is definitely 8 frags. Spoke too soon. That's doable. dramis, he doesn't have to really fight for much anymore. Just play that runaway game. No, you know you're faster than Q.
Yeah, exactly. This is the bare basics of dueling now. You just play around, you hit your shots. You know when your opponent gets like this, you turn into super confident mode and you decide to hit most things. So he has to do something very drastic to lose this.
Well played to dramis all round. It is unfortunate, though, to kind of see Psygib be, I suppose, as predictable as he's been on this map for dramis. You very rarely see that from him.
This is what I was a little bit afraid for with a kill pick on this map, is that you are vulnerable.
This feeling of not being able to do much is not a very good feeling, I imagine.
Yeah, it's not like a Veil, potentially a Blood Run, where you have more corridors and angles to work with. This map, you can just get isolated very easily on mid-map. So it's obviously a champion he's accustomed to.
Oh, yeah.
And
Psygib was always one of the most famous Keel players, in my opinion.
This is definitely the one of the more trickier maps, because a situation like this, for instance, where you have to go out of your way, you're so vulnerable. On a Blood Run, for instance, the light armors are in very protected areas. So it's the different levels of vulnerability definitely come up to show.
Psygib trying to chase it down, but he just can't catch him. He's having to go for some of these kind of trickier rocket jumps just to beat him to the punch, but what's a rocket jump? Self-damage.
And he's just predictable.
dramis can hear it. He can hear the rockets every step of the way.
He knows exactly what's happening.
This is just standard old, listen, stick your ear to the ground. Actually, dramis a little bit taken by surprise there, but that beautiful rail combo Psygib, I mean, a small victory might be denying the heavy in this situation, but all dramis needs to do is look for a rail angle. Well, he doesn't even need to care at this point. By all accounts, this is a map victory, and dramis is going to take a 3-0 versus Psygib. This was a crazy good result for him, and like I've said, I think a celebration of dramis' progress. Well done, all round.
I know, we both predicted a 2-1, I believe. So
I didn't think it would be a 3-0, I gotta say.
I didn't think I expected dramis victory, and I expected it to be closer than this. Saying that, the first two maps were exceptionally close, so this map could have been closer, 100%. But a 3-0, as you rightly say, signifies the progress that's being made by this up-and-coming young pretender.
I don't feel like you would have ever have predicted a 3-0 dramis versus Psygib unless we've had like 20 weeks of constant online competition to see dramis progress over the week.
Isn't it telling that we're saying this now and it's not even a surprise that he won 3-0?
No. I believe actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Chain, sorry if I've put you on the spot, but actually even Chain on Twitter predicted the 3-0 for dramis as well. He did his sort of weekly batch of match predictions.
Good job.
And it looks like you're right as well, mate. If you were right, I'm sure I saw it. But you know what? After map number 1, I'm doubting my own memory now. I'm doubting it, 100%.
I'm just doubting you as well, I'm not going to lie.
I'm doubting everything. It was... The sky was not blue today.
62% rail, 45 LG.
Wonderful result.
I mean,
fantastic.
It was a Keel running straight at him, but it's still Psygib in the Quake Pro League. So, good job.
I mean, that's really all you can say about that one. I think that dramis, he's just it's just the skill pool has expanded for him
A little bit.
Yeah. Just a small, by the smallest amount, enough. But at this point, though, I think there's going to be quite a few eyes on dramis. I'm highly curious to see whether he can bring that kind of A game to LAN again, because, like I said, when we saw him at the Stage 1 finals in Italy, he didn't look particularly lost. I think he kind of had to go against people that he often goes against, so, you know, it was almost like the online-offline situation. It's
actually a really valid point, and something that not a lot of people think about is it's a different world. When you go into these games being the underdog, you don't feel the same pressure as when you're going into them with all eyes on you and a level of expectation. It's nice to be that underdog position, because it also helps in the fact that when you start to win, your opponent begins to get a little bit rattled, because they're the ones that are expecting to be, why am I losing this, you know? So it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out in the coming weeks and LAN.
Curious to see how dramis handles not necessarily being the underdog anymore. I strongly think this will be the first time he's really been in a tournament setting where he's actually a player that isn't one of the people you're not really thinking about.
Exactly.
So how would he rise to the fact that maybe there isn't pressure on him anymore? You know, because like when you are an underdog and you feel kind of carefree and, well, look, I'll do my best and what happens, happens. If this is now going to kind of be the first real tournament where dramis hasn't felt that pressure, you would hope that maybe that doesn't actually get to him and maybe he doesn't think too much about
that's how the best champions are born. They're the people that are able just to wash that away and just play their game. It's the Raffas, the Coolers, and the Cyphers of this world. They have their play style. They're going to stick to it. Some of the newer players, and I know I suffered from it, is I would try to adapt and change the way I play because it's a new setting, it's a big player, it's a land. But as soon as you do that, you're not playing the way that which you know how to play. So hopefully, and it's not been shown so far, but that dramis doesn't succumb to that either.
There's also the element which I'm really excited for, and I'm sure everyone actually watching this stream is there's an element for dramis' progress of he's constantly playing off against a bunch of players that he scrims against and that he plays against on a weekly basis. he knows his competition now.
That's very true.
Now, going into the LAN environment, where there's a good chance he goes up against EU and CIS, their players he has barely played, if at all. So there is that extra dynamic.
That dichotomy works both ways in that these players will have no experience of the way in which dramis plays. And it is very much true that the way in the play styles of the EU and NA is radically different. That's one that could work in anyone's favour. You never know. But it's a very interesting dynamic.
Well, we're going to end series number 2 with a excellent result for dramis. And congratulations, bro. I believe they should really be getting ready for their boot camp now. Just to remind everyone, that was a pre-recorded match. But hey, now we know how it actually went down. So happy faces all round and enjoy the boot camp, you lads. But our next matchup is going to be Razy versus Toxic. Don't laugh at me. It's going to be a great matchup, though. It's just two famous players, famous for different reasons. Toxic, the machine, you know, the god of aim. And Razy, you know, the god slayer, just coming off into the scene for Quake Champions and just taking out all kinds of world-class players as a relatively unknown back in the day. And now he's one of the gods himself. Yeah,
and there's many players out there that say that when Razy's on, there's no one that can beat him. But I guess it's that when and if. He's somebody that he always plays at the highest level, but there's sometimes he is untouchable, and there's other times where he does look more sort of vulnerable. Tox, actually very similar in that regard. There is times where he will turn up and they'll be like, who are you today? I don't recognize you, because he's just not himself. But then there's days where Tox turns up and it's like, that's the guy I know, the previous world champion, you know, that he's the full package. So they're both quite temperamental in their own ways, both gods of aim. It's just a game I hope that both Titans come to play.
I mean, running the theme of week number 10, we're the ones that win, because we're all going to be treated to some fantastic series, and this next one is going to be one of them. We're going to cut to a quick break and set that up. This is week number 10 of Stage 2 of the Quake Pro League. Thank you for watching so far, and we'll see you in a few minutes' time.